a failure. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Okay.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes, 2 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. We welcome you back to a Thursday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a, not quite as frigid as it has tended to be weekday afternoon here in the Twin Cities that we affectionately refer to as Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro. I am the host of the program, and look who's back in town. He's in that chair. Guardsy has returned after another extensive road trip. The first one was west. This one was east. Is that correct?
State College, Pennsylvania.
That's always an easy place to get to. Although you fly, I assume you fly with the team, so you do fly right in?
There, yes. Yes, to Penn State, I fly in with the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, right into State College. Quaint little town.
And who else? What other game was on this trip? Weren't there two games?
It was just the one. Oh. Monday, I was just off.
You were just, I see.
A poorly timed vacation day.
I see, yeah.
To watch some fifth graders play basketball.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back. We will be here, I'm assuming, till 6:30 tonight.
That's the plan.
Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line will be rebooted shortly. 64686. Do you have you saved somewhere in your archives? So I didn't ask you this before the show, and it's no big deal if you don't. But do you think hidden somewhere we have the famous Giannis?
Oh, yeah.
I guess you could call it almost a monologue.
Yeah.
When he gets into I would say, a non-confrontational but very direct back and forth with a reporter who I think had used the F word, as in failure word, about their season. And at which point the key quote to come out of that was Giannis saying, "It is not a failure." If you find it, let me know, or if there's some version of it. We don't need to play the long version because it went on for a while, and I think that was Giannis trying to be earnest, right, about answering, not being flippant. I found him a lot more convincing on that occasion than I did the other day when he pretended to be hurt and offended when Bucks fans in the middle of a disastrous season had the audacity to boo the Bucks off the court at halftime when they were trailing a depleted Timberwolves team by like 35 points. Maybe there's might even been more. I don't understand how you can be in this business as long as that and how quickly they forget. I mean, come on, man.
Right.
But he was a lot better on the "it is not a failure."
Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
We didn't have it saved, but it was easy to find.
Okay.
Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's going to win. And this year, somebody else is going to win. Simple as that. We're going to come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball, you know, and hopefully we can win a championship. So 50 years from 1971 to 2021 that we didn't win a championship, it was 50 years of failures. No, it was not. It was steps to it, you know, and That's
a long time to wait, by the way, for the steps.
Win another one.
Yeah. All right, good enough. You get at least the flavor.
That was the full stretch there.
So, how much would you like to be face-to-face Timberwolves media room?
Yeah.
With the Greek Freak. I'm just asking.
I know, it's enticing. It's enticing.
I saw
you were watching Big Perk. What did he say?
And it's interesting because I usually rail against, I guess what you could argue is it's a non-story because it's a bit of media analysis speculation. And it's fine because that's what we all do, but it probably shouldn't be presented as anything but that. It's not news. But it caught my eye because we did talk a little bit about this yesterday. Now that Giannis has said, "I'm done. I need someplace else. I'm ready to go." Now, most places, here's my position. Once I heard that and people asked me about the Wolves, I said, well, I have no reason to believe that the Wolves are front runners to concoct what would have to be a massive deal to bring the Greek Freak to the Twin Cities. But I will add, and I honestly and earnestly believe this, that Tim Connelly would not be doing his job if he did not vet availability, possibilities, how numbers matched up, whether it's even realistic based on all the salary permutations that seem to get in the way. Are you immediately back in the second apron if you do something like that? All that stuff. But I will again say, we're too far along. We're not a cute little club anymore. I don't think we can think that way anymore. And I think that's part of the big timeness that Conley brought with him in that regard. He's proven it by making two massive deals, right? That at the time a lot of people were shocked by and didn't particularly like. But he's too good a player to not investigate exactly how possible would it be, what would you be willing to give up, et cetera, et cetera. Because I know the league's kind of gone away from the two-headed monster.
A little bit, yep.
But you tell me, if you have as your two best players Anthony Edwards and Giannis, that's not arousing? I mean, that. Now, of course, the problem is always would be, well, do you have anybody else left?
Who's with them?
And who's left? And I get all of that. And that's all a preamble to the Perk speculation was Perk's rankings of the five teams that need.
Yep, it was a specific way.
The most.
Yep.
And I think he surprised even the panel by not putting Miami at the top of the list, not putting the Golden State Warriors or the Houston Rockets at the top of the list, but putting the Minnesota Timberwolves at the top of his list. Now, I had the sound turned down, so I didn't hear his logic.
I was hoping you heard it because I could see the same thing, but I wasn't listening.
I unfortunately, by the time I saw where he was, and it was too late for me to actually listen to what his thinking and his reasoning was. I found it interesting that, because we're flyover country, still, relatively speaking, and I would just assume, well, no one will even think of us that way. And I've heard nothing from Johnny Athletic, for example, to think that it's something with Giannis is percolating. But don't you agree that, before I ask you the question, by definition, the ballsiness of it would be you are fundamentally, to even consider a deal like that, if it is even possible, you are in the middle of the season fundamentally remaking your team in a way that might not make it recognizable. Right? Because you're going to have to give up
for sure
a bunch to get them. By the way, somebody concocted, and I have no idea if the math worked out. Yesterday, I just loved the production and the work,
the effort.
It was a 3-team deal, and at the end of the 3-team, when all the dust settled, we ended up with Giannis and Karl-Anthony Towns.
I like that. We'd be in the second apron then. We might even be in the third.
I was going to say, have they created the third apron? Because if they haven't, we would.
We would be in the third apron there.
Exactly it. But you have to look at it, don't you? He's too good. He's not old enough. Now, his body, I will grant, is starting to break down a little bit. But, my God, he's still just such a magnificent player. And I think a player who is mature in the way he goes about his business. Yes. Even if I don't like the way he's kind of handled it this last 6 months in Milwaukee, but inevitably that's the way it seems to go.
Well, you mentioned not being flyover country. I think the enticing part of it and why I think it's a net positive regardless of what happens, because it is a really difficult trade to pull off. We learned this with Durant a year ago at this time, right?
Right.
Because the Wolves don't have any draft picks that they can trade, any first rounders. They have pick swap capabilities, but they'd have to get another team involved. One that's gaining some speculation in Johnny's publication, The Athletic, has to do with Portland, where like Jaden's going there and Nas is going with Randall to Milwaukee, and picks are coming from Portland and Milwaukee, and the whole deal. That Giannis apparently wouldn't mind coming here, which I always love to hear, as you know, as someone who lived through the Garnett era where we couldn't get anybody to come here to play with Kevin Garnett.
So we're not flyover country.
So we're not
when it comes to the
flyover country,
NBA, at least.
And multiple people, including, I think, Shams, has said he's intrigued. He's intrigued by what's going on in Minnesota. And by Minnesota, he means Ant. What's going on with Anthony Edwards, which I think is a net positive throughout this whole thing.
It is, and all that means it's worthy of our discussion. That's not, I don't think, either of us saying it's on the front burner.
Right.
But let's be honest. You'd have to, the word on the street is, over the last couple of years, the guy that other teams request the most is Jaden, correct?
Yep.
You would not be able to keep him in this deal.
No.
That would have to be one of the bridges you cross, right, where we got to get over that. Or you don't. Or you say it's too much. It's just I don't like a couple of reports about Giannis's body. By the way, he's hurt and out right now, isn't he?
Yes.
For like 2 or 3 weeks, which in of itself would be a little deflating because the trade deadline is what? It's the first week in February, is it not?
It's a week from today.
A week from today, that's right. I think it's at 2 o'clock Central. A week from today. But that would be it. You just have to say, well, sacrifices need to be made. And I dare say, I don't think any of the other rumors about Jaden have involved a player as good as Giannis coming back here, right? He's on another level.
For sure.
Correct?
He's a top 5 NBA player.
He is. Correct.
He's an MVP. He's a world champion, even at his older age than some of these other guys that we talk about.
Now, what does Shams say? I guess I haven't followed him that closely. Does he characterize where the Wolves are? Does he rank them at all? Now, because
I haven't seen that.
Perks was not ranking who has the best chance to get him, just who he believes needs him the most. Because, and I don't know what his reasoning was, but I will say, and I firmly believe this, there are people who say and believe that, well, there's not a big enough move the Wolves can make to really change who they are. They're going to sink or swim on the basis of what they have. I heartily disagree with that. Even if you're not talking about a name as big as Giannis, I honestly believe they are required to bring in another scorer somehow, some way. And I think that could make a big difference, even if it's not a huge, huge name. I do. Just think of it just in terms of the math, because I know I'm not good at it, but if you go from having one guy who can score off the bench, Naz, to having 2 who can score pretty consistently and regularly off the bench, you're going to tell me that wouldn't be a big help for this team taking some of the strain off offensively? It would be huge, would it not?
It'd be very helpful.
It doesn't have to be a big name. It has to be a guy who can be a fairly consistent scorer.
Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker was for a few years.
So how does Shams put it?
He just says, I think he doesn't put it in terms of who has the best chance. But he mentioned the Giannis nugget that it's a place that he would want to go. It's a place that he would be interested in going. I think Miami was in that mix as well of those two.
Well, here's the other thing I think Wolves fans should feel good about. I really do. The size and bigness of that kind of deal will not scare off Tim Conley.
Correct.
Now, the price might scare him off. He said, no, I've crunched all the numbers. No, it's too much in terms of what we have to give up and where we are financially. That might scare him off. But the size of it, or even the difficulty of putting it together, I don't think that he gets cowed by any of that, do you?
Nope.
That's why we love him. In my opinion, why it was such a good move having him here.
And he'll say...
He will vet it.
Yeah, he'll say, I want to win a title. Does this help us win a title? Does this get us closer to winning a title? And that's all you can ask for.
Bonus bucks?
Yes, bank is the first keyword of the day today. Go to KFAN.com to enter our national cash contest. KFAN.com, make the keyword bank.
Fan. Number 1. Bam! Put it up there. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Why is it important for Minnesota? Because they got to continue to breathe life into Anthony Edwards. He done already been to 2 Western Conference, back-to-back conference finals and went home. Now, can you get a guy like Giannis with the same type of mentality that's going to approach the game the same way? Now, they may have to give up a lot, but still in all, this big list of teams that need Giannis the most.
So there it is. Wow, interesting. That's Perk from ESPN.
Kendrick Perkins. He's always been on our side with the Wolves, going back to when they started to turn this thing. Yeah. Like giving us some shine, even though we are flyover country.
Well, tell me what you make of this text. Jaden is durable, shoots the three, and is a good free throw shooter. Giannis is none of those. I don't even know. That's from Cola.
Yeah. Hey,
Cola,
I love Jaden.
Yeah, it's not. This isn't about disparaging Jaden. But, I mean, let's see what Giannis is doing this year. He's playing 29 minutes a game, averaging 28 points. He's shooting 64.5% from the floor, 39.5% from three. Now, to be fair, he doesn't take that many threes. Free throw shooter, not that great, 65.8. Rebounds, 10 a game. Assists, 5.5 a game. I mean, we love Jaden, but come on, man. There's got to be, if you want to say no to it, you got to have a better reason than that, than a straight comparison. Because I don't even think Jaden would be embarrassed by that comparison. Now, durability. Fair subject. I'm looking at games played. Let's go back to, he came into the league in 2013-14. His first 4 years, actually his first 5, played in 77, 81, 80, 80, and 75 games. His last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, he's played in 30 this year, 67 last year, 73 the year before, 63, 67, and 61. So, yeah, some
fall off.
There's some fall off. There's definitely some fall off from where he began. He is 31 years old. Is he an old 31? Is that what's starting to happen?
Maybe.
It's
that's what you have to figure out.
They have to be examined, correct? He was drafted in 2013, first round, 15th overall pick.
Do you remember who the Timberwolves ended up with in that draft?
I remember. Well, what I remember is talking to Flip about Greek, because very quickly there were people who said, even that night, this is one of those guys who it's going to take him a while, but look out. And I remember what Flip told me. He said, and I don't know if he said this on air or off, but he definitely said it, I just can't wait that long. And it's a dangerous thing for an executive to say, because sometimes you can't.
Right.
But it also is what I think what separates the best from the okay, right? Because it's like, well, what do you mean you can't wait that long? If he can be as good as projected, now again, no one knew then what we've learned, but there were people who loved him coming out of the draft. Just said, it's going to take 3 or 4 years for him to really emerge.
The best part of the draft night, and we've YouTubed it before, and it's in the movie Rise, based on Giannis and his family, is that he was just sitting in the crowd. Like, he wasn't even a green room guy. He was invited to the draft, and he was there in the draft, but he was just in like section 112 of, I don't know, Madison Square Garden, wherever they held the draft that year, and he had to come down from the crowd. That's how he was obviously known, because he was a first-round pick, but he wasn't. Teams didn't really know where he was going to go. But that's an interesting chapter. That's an interesting night in Wolves history.
And that, of course, is the night that we desperately wanted and thought we were in position to draft Kelly Olynyk.
Yes.
And then one pick above us, I think the Mavericks had the pick and they traded it to Boston.
Danny Ainge got us.
Kelly Olynyk. At which point, it's very clear Flip was not ready to pivot. And you could see it in his face that night, quite frankly, and even afterwards. So that was the Shabazz Muhammad pick, correct?
Yes.
And
because we originally took Trey Burke for Utah.
That's correct.
And traded down to get the 14th pick.
Exactly it. That's exactly right.
So let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Would you, with the way that night went, would you rather have had the last 10 years covering Giannis or the Ben Howland interview in your career? Because you can't have either one. Because of the Shabazz Muhammad pick, we got to have former UCLA coach Ben Howland on after he had basically just been fired in part because of Shabazz Muhammad, losing to Tubby, who was also fired in the NCAA tournament. We got to have that interview and conversation, which could not have gone really much
it's a hard
worse
question.
eventually.
No, it's hard to answer because recency bias would say, "I'll take forget that interview. I'll take Greek." But it's a memorable one.
Yeah,
it's one of the more he didn't hang up on us, right?
No, that was
Raleigh
Kelvin Sampson.
Massimino and Kelvin Sampson hung up on me.
Yeah.
As I recall, didn't Raleigh hang up too?
Yeah, that was before my time, but I remember you telling me that.
He hung up.
Howland basically at some point, because you were calling him out, like, there's no way that you loved this guy this much, essentially, is what you said.
I did.
And Howland's like, well, I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
It got a little weird.
It got a little weird, yeah. Well, because it was like he was comparing him to Michael Jordan. I think my quote was, "You're making him sound like he's Michael Jordan."
Right.
It's like, give me something.
Right.
Because, for example, I tend to think, like, if we had Tom Crean on even then and we asked him about one of his players, he was going to praise him. But I think Crean would have always is the kind of guy who would have been capable of saying, got to work on a couple things. Here's one of them.
Right.
And that's, I was just looking for that. I wasn't looking for him to cream him. I knew he wasn't going to do that.
Right.
That was, that did make it kind of.
Hey, I heard you were very nice to Howland.
Yeah, that's right. He came in after that's what he said. Because
I cleaned up the language.
Flip gave us the number.
Flip helped us set it up for some damage control.
And then he's like, "Hey," but he wasn't as mad as he pretended, I don't think. But it was funny because it's
I heard you were a jackass.
Yeah.
Hey, what are we doing?
What are you doing? It's so Flip. Not against the trade, but how do we feel about Giannis playing alongside Rudy?
Be pretty good defensively.
That would be very good.
We'd be pretty good defensively, right?
You got to figure all that out.
Ant could lose a cutter or two and be okay.
I think Ant and Giannis could play together well.
Agreed.
I don't think that's a conflict at all, frankly. But you got to think about some things. And again, realistically, Jaden's gone.
Randall's gone.
Nas
is
and
probably
Nas?
gone. Probably. Well, the trade that The Athletic was circulating had all three of those guys in it.
Was that the three-way deal?
Yeah, not the one that had us getting Cat, but it was a three-way deal with Portland and Conley and Jaden, I think, were going there. Randall was going, I think, with Nas to Milwaukee. So it'd be those three. So, I mean, you're talking about, we're talking about Bones Highland, Rob Dillingham, Juan Berenger, and some other guys playing with these dudes.
Well, CJ in Minneapolis, he's reporting it that the package that was discussed was Minnesota gets Giannis and Drew Holiday.
Yes, in The Athletic, yep.
Both on 3-year contracts. Portland gets Jaden and Mike Conley. Bucks get Julius and Nas. I mean, that's...
And some picks from Portland.
Yeah. I mean, that's... So then, if you play that out, Drew Holiday starts for you, right? Even though he's kind of getting longer in the tooth, I would assume.
He's a good culture guy.
And he's a good culture guy for sure. But you're losing... Well... I don't know. I just say stay tuned. Who's to say? I like that we're in the mix.
It's fun.
At least in terms of speculation.
Exactly.
And it doesn't sound preposterous. It doesn't sound like, well, what are you talking about? Minnesota? There's no way, no how. All right. Let me give you the guest lineup today. We've got Russo Radio at 5:02. Is that correct?
From Fallness's Lair.
From Fallness's, he joined the top 5 at 5 2 days ago, by the way. Fallness did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
That's great.
That was a Blakemore surprise. It actually went pretty well.
Yeah.
Lou Ragoose is going to join us at 4:15 today. I think he intended the Homeland, what's his title? The
DHS guy or the new guy?
Yeah, the new
Tom
guy.
Homan.
Exactly. He, I believe, attended that presser, or at least has reported on it. There's a lot to get to on that. And when we come back, one of our favorites, former governor of the great state of Minnesota, Arne Carlson. Let's see what he thinks about recent developments. Are we headed for a better direction? Is he still pessimistic? Governor Arne Carlson is next. I feel like a year's worth of stories have developed just since the last time we chatted with our next guest, and that was, Garzi reminds me, about 2 weeks ago. It's just stunning how quickly things have moved here, and in some cases, very tragic directions yet again. Former Minnesota Governor Arne Carlson, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Governor, thanks as always for your time and your attention. I want to start with, I don't know if you saw any of it or have heard any of the reporting on it, but the White House border czar, Tom Homan, had a presser earlier today. He is in town. He has been brought in by the president to attempt to change the temperature a little bit. What are your impressions of him? What do you think that move signals? And can we actually believe that we may be close to getting to a better place? Oh, I guess I got
the Trump umbrella is starting to crack. And it may crack faster than we think, but it's also going to cause a great deal of damage, and more damage will come. The entree to Minnesota, and I may be misunderstanding it, but if I recall correctly, and please do break in and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they also issued some stipulations to Minnesota relative to directives on what they're to do with possible violations of illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Correct.
And
that is correct.
if I recall correctly, some of those stipulations were that Minnesota would hold them in prison even after their time expired. Is that also correct?
That I don't recall those words exactly. Let me let me read you a couple things that maybe will help fill in here. That I think speak to part of what you're talking about. Holman said, this is according to StarTribune.com, that the easiest way to decrease the level of officers in the state was to have the Department of Corrections and county jails help deliver illegal immigrants wanted by ICE to federal agents. He praised the Minnesota Department of Corrections for, quote, honoring our detainers of immigrants. The issue apparently has more to do, at least if you want to listen to what he has to say, with what's going on, the relationship involving the county systems, the county jails, et cetera.
Yeah, if they want the state or the county or any unit of Minnesota government to detain someone past their legal expiration date, that would be illegal. So I think what you want to do here is, one, get an official opinion from the Attorney General before responding to anything. The good news is it opens up the door for communication and possibly for negotiations. And I'm sure the governor and the Attorney General will do that. And I think that's the correct step to take.
Earlier this month, again from this story, Minnesota Corrections Commissioner Paul Schnell said state law requires his department to notify ICE when a non-citizen enters prison, and that the prisons fully comply. He said the state has always worked with ICE to transfer prisoners with immigration detainers.
That would be my recollection as well. That's correct. I think the real problem here is, and it's an issue that hasn't been properly aired, and that's the enormous amount of incompetence that has now come into our government system as a result of all the radical changes that have been made. And ICE does not have the facilities to bring people to. We hear too many stories that they're ill-fed, ill-clothed, etc., and frankly just inhumane. So I think they want to detain more people in our prisons and at our expense. And that can be negotiated, but that's a radical change from the way the government operated in the past.
Do you have, generally speaking, greater hope that we are? The rhetoric has been tamped down. The question is always, well, that's fine for a while. That's good, but the devil's always in the details in terms of what is actually done on the ground, what changes are made there. Where are you in that process?
Yeah, as I indicated before, I think the Trump umbrella is starting to crack, and it's only a question of how much and how quickly. But the issue of incompetence is very, very troubling. First of all, you've got some 100 felony violations that ICE has committed according to a federal court in Minnesota. And that has to be dealt with. And that's just the start of their legal problems. Then you've got the United States Senate finally agreeing that they're going to separate the funding of ICE from the rest of the funding bill so we can avoid a government shutdown.
Yep.
But that means that ICE will be on the front burner next week and the week after. And that's not going to be a pleasant occasion for them. In other words, ICE is being exposed. And one, it's about time. And two, that's going to be it gives us all the opportunity to correct, and I'm being polite now, the mistakes of the past. But the truth is, we've seen inhumane treatment, unbelievable fear that has been instilled by ICE and our citizenry, and that has to cease and cease immediately.
To your point, I'm looking at one of several stories about the Minnesota chief district judge, Patrick Schultz, who said, I believe either last night or may have even been earlier today, ICE has likely violated more court orders in January 2026 than some federal agencies have violated in their entire existence. And what's interesting to me about that is, when we get in these crises, the hope is that we have such strong checks and balances that on the legal side, the courts will check in and do the things that it needs to do to potentially right things, even if it's sloppy and even if it takes too long. But we're back to what the chief district judge is pointing out. If you have a government in place that's just almost ignoring those rulings or paying no attention to them, is it enough that these sort of sharp rulings are taking place and the chief district judge is making comments like this?
No, first of all, I'm very, very proud of the court. That's a guidepost that is working, and I'm so grateful for it. But the second thing is, it's about time now for the federal government to put a moratorium on all ICE activities until such time as they can be properly organized and properly trained. And in the meantime, let's proceed with a judicial process and investigation of the two murders that occurred in Minnesota. You have to build an accountability in order to gain the public's trust and restore your own sense of credibility.
What did you see? Because this is the first time we've spoken since the killing of Alex Preddy by federal agents. That was on last Saturday, January 24th. That's, of course, a couple weeks after the killing of Renee Good by an ICE officer. What did you see? What struck you? What was your reaction to the Alex Preddy story?
I don't think there's any question about two things. The first is it was a murder. You had 7 agents. 5 never pulled a weapon out of their holster. 2 did, and 2 killed a man. There was no gun that in any way, shape, or form threatened those ICE officers. The second part was the immediacy with which the Trump administration started to lie, to demonize the victims, portray the incident as some kind of an international conspiracy, alleging that one of the victims was really trying to kill the police. You don't build trust in government by lying to the people, and the people know what they saw. And we now know without any shadow of a doubt that there was no weapon on the victim, that weapon had been in his pocket and was removed by an ICE agent.
Right.
And 5 understood that there was no threat, did not pull a weapon or anything else. The other 2 did. And now those 2 should be brought to the bars of justice.
There has been much conversation about a video that seems to have captured Alex Preddy in a previous confrontation with authorities, in which he is yelling at them, and then I think he kicks the taillight out of one of their vehicles, at which point then they come after him as well. I've gotten a bunch of, just since that story broke and that video was released, and it seems fairly certain, I think even the family has said it's him, it's the same individual, that in effect, well, now what do you think of what happened? Look what we learned about this kind of guy. Everybody's acting like he's an angel. Does it matter whether he's an angel or not? Does that video have anything to do in your mind with the conduct on the occasion of the killing of Alex Preddy?
No, absolutely not. It's a totally separate episode. If he violated if he violated the law in episode number 1, arrested and tried and brought to the bars of justice for that, obviously that didn't occur. But that has nothing to do with episode number 2, where he lost his life.
I just got to
And then let me say something else here. I think it's disgraceful, and I mean it, truly disgraceful, that people who we, the taxpayers, employ to give us service and to give us that service with honesty and integrity, turn around and do everything they can to cover up their own mistakes. I think that's appalling. Absolutely appalling. And so all these people that are coming out with all these reasons why a murder is justifiable, I think they too should be brought into play and asked, how can you say the things that you're saying? And why? Why are you doing this? We don't know if episode number 2 is true or not, but that's not the point. The point is it's completely separate and has nothing whatsoever to do with his with the fact that he was murdered.
Interesting text just came in that I thought you might perhaps get a kick out of. Your leftist propaganda is getting pretty ridiculous, Dan. Do you ever bring Republicans on to talk? You wouldn't know anybody who was ever a Republican, would you, Arnie? Anybody come on?
I think it's disgraceful. And I do blame both parties, that somehow party loyalty is more important than loyalty to nation and loyalty to the values that sustain and built this nation. We lost millions of people in our various conflicts around the globe to protect American democracy. And we're making a mockery of it by having all this loyalty to partisan causes and so little concern for the laws of humanity, which we had at Nuremberg, and for the laws of our state and the laws of the federal government. We do not empower anybody, not even ICE agents, to lawlessly brandish their weapons and kill people. We don't hire people to bully other people, to exceed their authority, and to violate law. Let's talk about the 100 violations that the court has indicated have taken place on the part of ICE. 100. Imagine what the pro-ICE people would be saying if just 10 violations were caused by one of the victims.
Another text, and I've had several like this have come in, and I'll read you one of them. Once you forego your constitutional right of a peaceful protest, you are subject to arrest. It doesn't matter if he had a gun on him. Here's to me what's missing from that part of the story. And again, I'm willing to see what else we learn from this case. But to me, Governor, part of the problem was when you're talking first about the woman that got pushed down on the into the snowbank, there was no if you're going to arrest, if you think you have a right to arrest on the basis of whatever you think is being disrupted, arrest. Is that arresting protocol? We're going to look at you and shove you into the snow, and then someone else tries to help that individual. It's what you say. There's no precision in terms of what is our approach in a lawful way when it comes to arrest, when it comes to whatever we think we're trying to do. It feels very much Wild Wild West-like, and I think some of that also has to do with the individual who Trump finally got rooted out of town, Greg Bovino. To me, the Border Patrol commander, he was part of what set a tone that I think the ICE agents said, we got no accountability. We can do whatever what the hell we want to do.
Right. Well, first of all, Dan, I want to thank you very much for being far more eloquent than me. I'm 90 years old. I wish I could have verbalized the situation as well as you did, and I thank you for doing it. You're absolutely correct. The victim who was ultimately shot was doing nothing more than being a good Samaritan. How dare any officer of the law push anybody into a snowbank and then turn around and pulverize the person who's trying to help that individual up? He was doing what we all call a Christian charitable act. But it's an act of kindness in every religion in the world. And so he was trying to be gracious, kind, and warm and caring to another human being, and for that, his life is in jeopardy.
Governor, let's try to go in a slightly different direction here, because you definitely have gotten the text line going. People are very, in many cases, not all, and again, the loudest voices are going to tend to be the ones that disagree. And I've felt I've had to deal with this same refrain. He's asking, the governor keeps talking about law and rules and justice. What about all the fraud? You guys never want to talk about the fraud. And before you take that question, I will tell you that we have on this show discussed that subject and been very critical, frankly, of the Walz administration endlessly, with some extremely good guests, including Andy Lugar, the former U.S. attorney, Joe Thompson as well, and others. And I guess I'm puzzled by people's inability to understand that you can do more than one thing at once. And so this doesn't absolve anybody of that story. You have written extensively and criticized roundly the checks and balances that have failed. So why is it people think, well, if you're doing this, you can't possibly have been spending any time on that other thing as well? Why can't people understand the possibility that we are capable of doing more than one thing at once?
Yeah, I think it's very troubling. I think what everything gets down to is to slip and slide away from the truth, obfuscate the truth, and focus on something else. The fraud that took place in Minnesota has absolutely no relationship whatsoever to ICE. That was not a problem of immigration. It was not a problem of customs. It had nothing whatsoever to do with ICE, any more than the convictions that Donald Trump had in court in New York. So let's learn to separate events. In the case of the fraud in the state of Minnesota, that clearly was gross mismanagement, no question about it. It started roughly in 2011 when the Dayton administration ignored the warnings that the guidelines, the audit guidelines, were being violated and were weak and insufficient. And from that year on, year after year after year after year, through the Walz administration, through the Dayton administration, they were ignored. And they were also ignored by the departments who were supposed to oversee the public finances. So that was gross mismanagement. It's a separate issue, and the public is absolutely correct. They have a perfect right to be very, very upset.
Last item for today, former Governor Arne Carlson, who, again, to be clear, was the Republican governor of Minnesota. You've since then stated your case that you don't believe you left the Republican Party so much as the Republican Party left you, but you were a Republican governor of the state of Minnesota. I want you to address, you've always had, a really good political ear because, politics is part of this stuff. So what's your best theory on what drove the president to seem to want to change the story here, at least, again, in terms of the rhetoric, getting Bovino out, bringing Holman in? What was it that you think he was feeling, a very stubborn man, that had him, at least in theory, going in a different, less confrontational direction?
Well, it's always hard to figure out the strategy of another person, and I don't want to pretend I have a slightest clue what moves Trump in any direction. But suffice it to say, there is a long pattern that when the going gets rough, slide into some other battle. And that's what he's done. Jeb Bush was the first person to really, on the national stage, say the exact truthful thing, and that was that Trump will create chaos. And that's the one thing everybody, Democrats, Republicans, independents, can certainly agree on. There is chaos beyond anything anybody imagined. So predicting what he'll do next is, I haven't got the slightest clue. But if there is going to be a calming, if there is going to be some restoration of normalcy in the state of Minnesota, then I think that the state should participate fully in any kind of solution that is lawful. And if they can do that, that's a big step forward. And then I'd like to see us start to discuss how do we restore normalcy and good governance to the state of Minnesota. And one would be to really lessen this partisan profiles. Partisanship is totally out of control in America, and it's out of control in Minnesota.
There's no question about it.
And by the way, let me end on this. Trust in American government is at the lowest point it has ever been in its history. When Eisenhower was president in 1958, 73% of Americans trusted their government. Today, we're down to 17%. You can't govern on that.
No, you can't get, and you can't.
Every single index indicates a tremendous separation between government and the public. And we saw that the way the public took charge in the state of Minnesota and stood up to ICE. They're the real heroes in this. The public understood the Constitution. The public understood what was right and what was wrong, and they stood up for what is right and what is human and what is constitutional. ICE now has at least 100 charges of violations that they have to deal with.
I don't know. I was thinking out loud here as you wrap up here that one of the big frustrations with you is we so rarely know how you feel. You so rarely go out on any kind of a limb where it's so much equivocating that we are left with, well, where the hell is he on any of this stuff? You got to work on that, okay?
Thank you. I think what's a little bit hard is you lose your ability to verbalize as well as you used to.
You're doing fine.
So I do apologize for that, but
you're doing fine.
I do intend to remain in the arena as long as I possibly can, and I'd like to see Minnesota come back to where it was. We had so many golden years in Minnesota. We were the state that led the nation in excellence in governance. We had so many leaders that excelled on the national scene. I'd like to see us restore that sense of pride, that sense of excellence that we used to have.
Thanks again for the time. We'll be in touch, Governor. Appreciate you.
Delighted.
Thank you. Former Governor Arne Carlson joining us with, as I said, always very, very equivocating answers. He's got a lot of people riled up. We'll get to some of those texts. We'll follow up with a couple of interesting nuggets that I think could be added to the equation as we continue to follow this story. We've got Lou Ragoose at about 4:15. We've got Russo Radio coming up at 5:02. Don't go.